Yeah, my name is Chris Carruthers, and I will be the facilitator for this evening's Berwick Town Council Candidates Question and Answer Forum. I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for your interest in this evening's event. First of all, I would like to introduce you to each of the candidates in alphabetical order, starting with the mayoral candidates. Mr. Donald Clark and Mr. Shane Spicer. The following candidates are running for 6 councillor positions. Mr. Adam Lutz, Mr. Mike Trinacity.
Welcome, everyone.
Mr. Chris Goddard, Mr. Rod Reeves, Mr. Derek Jameson, Mr. Mike Harris, Mr. Ty Walsh.
Hi, everybody.
We consulted the community with regard to questions for this evening's forum. There will be a total of 5 questions for each candidate. The first 2 questions have been previously supplied to them. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer each question. We have conducted a random draw to determine the order of candidates responding to each question. We will now proceed with the question and answer period, beginning with the first question. So, which was one of the ones that we previously provided to the candidates? And the question is, introduce yourself and explain why you would be a good candidate for Berwick Town Council. And first on my list is Mr. Trinacity.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you tonight. And thank you, Chris, as our moderator, and I thank town staff for organizing our event. So my wife, Brenda, and I have lived in Berwick for nearly 40 years. We have 2 grown daughters who live in Robinson Drive. Our daughters are in Ottawa. I'm retired now from the province of Nova Scotia, where I worked as a consultant and a regional manager for a number of different departments, including recreation, health, communities, culture, and heritage. I have a fair bit of training in community development, organizational development, group facilitation, group dynamics, strategic planning, and recreation sport management. I've been an active volunteer in the community since I've been here as a coach with the School Band Parents Association, president of Gala Days, the steering committee to build KMCC, which I led the fitness center component piece. Presently, I volunteer with the Wildcats junior A hockey team, and I'm a member of the Western Kings Health Society and secretary of the Kings County Trail Society. And I chair our Berwick Sports Hall of Fame, and I'm also presently the chair of the governance committee of the KMCC. I've been on council now, just completing 25 years. I've had a number of stints as deputy mayor, and I've chaired pretty much every committee that exists within the town. I've led a number of particular strategies and developments over those years, including the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan, Recreation Strategy, Trails Plan, and recently the hotel study. I'm an active member of council who believes that stepping up and speaking out is an important part of a councillor's role. Now, the town has a $4.5 million operating budget, nearly $500,000 capital this year, another $5 million budget for the electric commission, and you need people with experience and skills to manage that. I want to be a councillor because I've worked on a number of things that make Berwick a great place to live, work, and play. I want to continue to work on these things and the other great things that we have on the go, and to deal with the issues of the future. And thank you very much, and I hope to see you as I travel around Berwick over the election campaign.
All right, Mr. Trinacity, that was a little over time. I've given you the ability to finish your sentence. I'll now call on Mr. Walsh.
All right, thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. So I just wanted to first acknowledge that today is Orange Shirt Day. Adam Lutz is winning ahead of everybody with the orange shirt tonight. And I wanted to acknowledge that we are having this meeting on the unceded land of the Mi'kmaq people. My name is Ty. I was elected for the first time in 2016, and I'm currently the deputy mayor of the town of Berwick. I sit on King's Transit, Berwick and District Fire Commission, King's Diversity, the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipal Officials on their Conference Planning Committee, Berwick Gala Days, and I'm the alternate for Annapolis Valley Regional Libraries. I was born and raised in Berwick, moved back here in 2012 with my wife, Katrina, who is a chartered professional accountant at the County of Kings. We have one son who came by surprise at the last election. We found out that we were expecting our first, John Wayne. We also have two beagles, Miles and Murphy, who create a lot of noise in our neighborhood, but they're very nice dogs. I've worked in long-term care for over 9 years, and then took a stint as a stay-at-home dad, which was a wonderful time at home with my son. And now I've worked for Canada Post for the last 2 years. I have a long history of community development leadership with organizations such as the Nova Scotia Secondary School Students Association, working with provincial government and the Department of Education. I founded the Leaders of Today organization, which brought together youth organizations from across Nova Scotia that serve youth. I also have been a former member of the Berwick Lions Committee, the Apple Tree Foundation for Kings Regional Rehabilitation Center, and Aware Nova Scotia. Berwick has a unique history of industrialization and self-sufficiency. It's a town that's fallen on hard times in the past, but it's picked itself back up again, and now we have been lucky enough to enjoy what many around us have called the Berwick boom. I've learned a lot over my time in council over the last 4 years, and I've very much enjoyed having fun with everybody in our community. I want to do my best to keep representing our town at the decision makers table over the next 4 years.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walsh. And now it's Mr. Goddard's turn. Go ahead, Mr. Goddard. He's frozen. Okay, Mr. Goddard, I do see you frozen as well as muted, so there you go.
How's that?
Great.
Good evening to our moderator, fellow candidates, and the citizens of Berwick. My name is Chris Goddard. Born in England, raised in Southern Ontario, served 8 years in the Royal Canadian Navy as an aviation technician, doing numerous cruises aboard HMCS Bonaventure, Canada's last aircraft carrier. Before leaving the Navy, I obtained a civilian aircraft maintenance engineer license and worked with aircraft bombing forest fires in Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, and the Northern Territories. This career involved extensive travel throughout North America and to South America, Europe, and Africa. I was owner-operator of Unique Aircraft Maintenance in Fort Langley, British Columbia for about 10 years before my wife, Susan, and I returned to Nova Scotia and settled in the Valley. We've lived in Berwick for 16 years. Recently, I am Berwick's representative on the board of directors of King's Point-to-Point Transit, those bright blue buses you see around, and I am a member of the town's police advisory committee. My organizational skills and willingness to serve make me an excellent choice for council. Please support me. I won't let you down. Thank you.
All right, next up, I'm just going to read the question again one more time in case we have some people joining us late from on YouTube. The question is, introduce yourself and explain why you would be a good candidate for Berwick Town Council. And the next up is Mr. Jameson. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. Derek Jameson here. Welcome to all the other candidates and the mayoral candidates, and welcome to those that are on YouTube. My background has been in agriculture and has always been towards building stronger futures. And I've reviewed Berwick's past history and have been involved in Berwick for many years. And I see that the town has a strong future, and I'd like to be part of that. That's why I'm interested and feel that I could be a candidate, is because of my background in farming and in agriculture and my professional accreditation as an agrologist. I've worked in the town before. I worked when M.W. Gray's was here, when Kobe Foods was here, and I have been involved in what was the Berwick Fruit Company years ago. I've also been involved in finance and feel that my financial background as the CEO of the Nova Scotia Farm Loan Board and then an investment director with the province of Nova Scotia with economic and rural development and tourism has allowed me to hone my skills in allowing and working with businesses and municipalities to grow and build their operations. I first came to Berwick in '74, where I met my wife, Lynn, and raised 3 children, leaving a number of times in order to go to work at the various jobs that I've had. I've settled back in here in 2013 and look forward to working with the council, the mayor, and the staff and the teams that are there, and hope that you will support me. Thank you.
All right, next on the list, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone, and good evening, fellow candidates. I'm enjoying this. It's good to hear some information of people I've known a while, but some information I didn't know. My wife Diane and I have 2 children and 4 wonderful grandchildren. I grew up in Berwick and have lived here most of my life. Following high school, I attended Teachers College and Acadia, graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a Bachelor of Education. During my career in teaching, I took courses to complete a certificate in school counseling and a certificate in computer science at Acadia. I had a long career in education, first as a high school math teacher and then as a school counselor. Following my retirement, I decided to run for council. I was elected and served on council until elected as mayor in 2012. I was acclaimed in 2016. All my years on council were under the leadership of former Mayor John Prow. I worked closely with John and consider him to be an excellent mentor. I'm proud of what council has accomplished over the last 4 years while I was serving as mayor. During my council years, I've been involved in all facets of municipal government in Berwick. As mayor, I sit on all committees ex officio. The Berwick Electric is a very important part of the town's success, and I've served on the Berwick Electric Commission each year and have chaired the commission since becoming mayor. This experience makes me uniquely qualified to work with staff and our partners on the many projects currently on the go or in the works. This will ultimately make Berwick a leader in renewable energy in Canada. Our green initiative not only helps our reputation as climate change leaders, but they have added significant revenues to the town's bottom line. My professional training as a school counselor helps me to deal effectively with staff, council, and the public. I look forward to your support and hope to be able to serve you as mayor next term. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Clark, that's your time. So we seem to be having some technical difficulties on the YouTube channel, so I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if I can figure that out. So just bear with me. That's your time. Yep, just give me a All right, folks. I'm afraid I can't find what is the root cause of what appears to be the wrong person appearing as the main person on the YouTube screen. I think we'll just have to go ahead and as long as people can hear you and at least see your video in the smaller format somewhere else on the screen, that'll have to do. Oh. So I can't even see all your faces right now. I'm going to continue on the order and we'll just hope for the best at this point. So Mr. Harris is next. Go ahead. Looking for your microphone to unmute. There we go.
Hello there. My name is Michael Harris. I was brought up in Berwick. I left for a couple of years, came back. I have a Bachelor of Commerce and a Master's with a specialty stream in social enterprise leadership, which I think could benefit Berwick immensely. And after I completed that, I completed a certificate from Harvard University in sustainable business strategy, And so one of the things I would like to do as counselor is, well, fix the sidewalks. I know a lot of people have been injuring themselves. That would be probably my top priority, and I know it's expensive, but categorize the most important ones first. And the other thing I'd like to look at is affordable housing. A lot of people that I've spoken to, there is not a lot of options for young people to move to Berwick. So I've been doing some research over the years, and one of them is with CMHC and CEDIFs, which are Community Economic Development Investment Funds. And I have communicated with Jeremy LeBlanc from CMHC, and he did say that because CEDIFs are only available in Nova Scotia, it's not advertised on CMHC, but they are available. So those are opportunities that we could create a task force to review that and find more information and maybe go about it. Well, the other thing is women in business. I've been talking to a lot of women, and a lot of our small businesses are women owner operated. And there needs to be some type of help to them, like with workshops or a voice and counsel and stuff like that. So we got to look at what type of disturbances that COVID is really going to have on our small business sector here in Berwick. So to think of ways and ideas to create more business and to invite more people into town and stuff like that. And I hope to start having live talks with Facebook or Zoom. And lastly, I would like to look at the possibility of setting up a market in Rainforest Park. And one would have a free booth so that people could drop off extra produce and stuff like that for people in need. But I guess my time is up, so I will end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Next on my list, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reeves, waiting for the microphone to unmute.
Oh, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rod Reeves, and I'm excited to be offering once again for a seat on Town Council in the upcoming municipal election. If successful, it'll be my third term as a councillor here in Berwick, and I also served on Middleton Town Council before moving to Berwick back in 2007, moving back to Berwick in 2007. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in this evening. Your tuning in tells us, the candidates, that you're actively engaged and actually have an interest in the future of your town. You know, I always struggle a little bit when asked this question, because for me, it's not about what qualities I think I have that would make or have made me a good counselor over the past 8 years. It's about the qualities that you think I bring to the table that have and would continue to make me a good counselor. The qualities you have seen in me in the past that may have caused you to mark an X by my name during the last 2 municipal elections. And if you indeed did do that, thank you. For me personally, what I look for when choosing who to vote for, whether it's for a council seat or mayor's candidate, I look for leadership, experience, accountability, accessibility, availability, approachability, community involvement and engagement, an ability to listen and to be open to new ideas, and passion. Passion's a big one for me. You have to have passion for the town you serve, and you have to have passion for the people who live there, and a drive to make Berwick the best place in the valley and the province to live. And these are all things I try to bring to the table as a councillor. So if you feel that these are important characteristics for a candidate to have, and you feel that I have those, or any of the other qualities that you look for in a councillor that's critical, then I certainly would appreciate your support in the upcoming election. Thank you.
All right, next on the list, Mr. Lutz.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Chris, and all the other candidates tonight. My name is Adam Lutz, and I was born in Berwick in the hospital when it was open, and from here I moved to the big booming town of Morristown and then Auburn. My wife and I returned here 10 years ago because we wanted to raise our children here. There were nothing better around than the Berwick School and everything else that Berwick has to offer. Some of the examples that we brought us here was the King's Mutual Center, parks, variety of businesses, activities, which makes our towns amazing. And this is also through other people that I talk with as I go door to door, or I see at school when I pick up my kids. Both of our children have gone to the Berwick School. They've also participated in the many activities that we offer, such as baseball, scouts, guides, hockey, and curling. Curling's a big thing in our house. I curl on Sunday Night League, and I also help coach the junior curlers. What I bring to the table is I've been a nurse for 25 years, so I've worked in different settings. My first setting was a nursing home right here in Berwick. From there, I went to a career at the King's Regional Rehabilitation Center for 15 years. I am currently employed with the IWK, and I work at the Youth Center in Waterville. And with this program, I get to see a lot of programs that help all the youth, and it's a really rewarding job, as would be in a councillor in Berwick, being able to bring experience in that. My experience as a nurse, I believe it's beneficial because listening and having empathy and working with a team are just some of the critical skills needed to work in the healthcare field, but it also transfers over to a town councillor. I want to be the councillor for Berwick because I wish to voice your concerns and your issues. That is the #1 job as a councillor. I can make great suggestions on my own, but you, the people, have to tell us whether it is the sidewalks. I enjoy meeting our community members, and I really hope to make even the smallest difference in a positive way to our town. I have seen good times and I've seen bad times. I was here and lived next to the plant. I was here when Larson's closed. I was also here when Eden Valley came in, and we were able to bring that back to the town. So our town is a wonderful place, and I would love to have the opportunity to be your council. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Lutz, thank you. And next and last on the list is Mr. Spicer. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, people. Welcome, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Clark and this council and the tremendous job they've done with this town in the last 4 years, right? And anyway, for me running, it's simple, right? I love this town. For those of you who don't know me, I'm 56 years old, lived in Berwick all my life. Been married to my wife Gail, my amazing wife Gail, for 34 years. We owned and operated a Tam for All Seasons. I worked at Michelin for 30 years, retired. Some of the highlights included instructor, first responder, as well as leadership training. I volunteered with the Valley Wildcats and drove their bus for 4 years. Drove a school bus for stock. I may have driven your kids. I volunteered at the Berwick Fire Department for 5 years. Spent 1 term on the Berwick Rent Committee. Now employed with the Armour Courier Service. And I'm a member of the Berwick Curling Club and the Berwick Legion. It is simple. I love Berwick. If successful in my bid, I will devote my time to make Berwick the apple of everyone's eye. Thank you very much.
My turn to speak. So that's the end of the answers to question number 1. Question number 2, which was also previously given to the candidates, is, as a council member, you represent all citizens of the town, regardless of race, religion, culture, physical and mental abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. How will you help make the town a more inclusive community? And the first person on my list is Mr. Lutz. Go ahead.
Good evening. There are so many things our council and our community can do and we need to do together. But as a counselor who will be representing those who are experiencing systemic racism and non-inclusion, I want to talk and to have discussions with those people that are most affected. I want to make choices on policies, programs, and activities that will benefit all who do not feel they are represented in the decisions previously made by the town. That was one of my big issues as I was going door to door. People said they didn't feel welcome, and that really hurt me. And people that moved in, I know there was COVID, but before there was COVID, that really got to me. I would really like to see a multicultural day where people from the community can make food, craft, and we can celebrate with their music and show off what makes them special in the community. I'm a nurse, and being accepting and respectful for all people, no matter race, religion, culture, physical and mental abilities, sexual orientation, gender, identity, is part of my job. But it's also what I believe as a person. Everyone is human first, and their differences make them unique. Let's celebrate the diversity in our town. I, as a counselor, need to set an example and make an extra effort to make decisions that will be inclusive and not continue systemic issues. It does not matter who you are, where you've come from, your concerns, ideas, and thoughts are valid and will help our beautiful town to continue to grow and evolve. The best example is the Town of Berwick is already a leader in developing projects to fight the climate emergency. We should be the leaders in being a true, diverse, and inclusive community. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Lutz, thank you for that. And next on my list is Mr. Walsh. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. First, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Charity Huntley for the work that she's done in our town with the Black Lives Matter movement, and also to Taylor Boylan from the town, who's been helping in a supporting role. Many will have seen the message that I posted yesterday online as a message to women of the town of Berwick. And that is in response to the fact that we have had no woman run for council in either the council or mayoral positions this year. We need to, for one, acknowledge as a current council that this is a failure on our part. We should have been doing more to try and encourage people of all diverse backgrounds to be able to feel comfortable running for positions and taking their issues to the ballot. We must understand why women did not run. We need to have our ears open and listen to these factors and make sure that we're not repeating the same mistakes 4 years from now. As many will have seen too, we have a 55.6% of our population in town identify as women. And we have many strong women leaders within the town that we need to mobilize. In the coming 4 years, we need to increase resident voices. We need committees, public meetings, and feedback. We need to increase communications capacity and town transparency. We need to highlight what I believe is the true inclusive community spirit of Berwick. We need to have discussions on diversity, identity, sexual multiculturalism, and acceptance. We need to learn and educate anti-discrimination and anti-racist practices. We need gender and reflective representation in our town, social justice and accessibility for physical and mental needs. We need to strengthen our partnership with our already existing municipal partnership with King's Diversity, run through the County of Kings, and utilize their resources. We must be open, honest, and admit
And
that
that's
we
your
are still
time, Mr.
learning,
Walsh.
adapting, and accepting. Is that it,
All right.
Chris?
That's your time, Mr. Walsh. We'll move on to Mr. Goddard. I'm still seeing, there we go. Thank you.
So, my answer is short and to the point. We must constantly strive to create inclusion for everyone in our community. I believe we all can lead by example, and as your counselor, I will do just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Moving on to the next candidate, Mr. Spicer.
Thank you. Inclusion is, what is the meaning of inclusion is different depending on who you talk to. Few meanings are understanding, empathy, compassion, respect, appreciation, encourage, involvement. My vision is simple. To make Berg provide all services, infrastructure required so that all persons, regardless of situation, feel welcome and can easily complete the tasks every day life throws at them.
And
Everyone deserves to be part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Spicer. And next, I'm calling upon Mr. Genesity.
Thank you, Chris. This is certainly a very difficult topic, a tough topic, as the Premier mentioned the other day, and it was good to see what the Premier has done in creating a redesign team. And those people spoke how this is going to take a long time to really deal with this issue and these issues. But I must say, I'm proud of what the town has done in the past, especially times of the Harley Lawrence incident and how we hosted some sessions on social justice, homelessness, poverty, mental health. Very proud of the support our community has shown in the past in hosting immigrant refugee families and how we stepped up and made those kinds of things happen. And Ty has already mentioned, it's really pleased to see the work the charity is doing and the support that Taylor has been providing to her. But I do think council and staff, we need to continue with these efforts. We need to look at what other kinds of efforts are available and how we can support those. Our role at council and staff is really to try to facilitate a lot of things. And there's been some good ideas mentioned, but there are a lot of organizations working in this area. And I just, as one example, will share with you, Hockey Nova Scotia has a diversity inclusion task force. They just launched a survey on how minor hockeys can adjust and deal with this issue. Well, we need to make those connections in our community and work with those people to do that. We need to work with that provincial design team as well for efforts that they come up with. But at the council level, and Ty started on this, and that we have an opportunity at council with all our now non-council committees to look at opportunities to bring more diversity to our table. Those tables make a great place to hear from other people, get more ideas on how we should be moving towards dealing with issues in this town. But it also is a great training ground for future councilors, and that's the opportunity that we need to have here for people. And you know, in the past, we've had a number of people start that way. Some of the ladies that have been on started that way. We've had to call people.
And that's your time.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Okay, I'm just going to read the question one more time in case some people on YouTube are wondering what you're talking about. So here we go. As a council member, you represent all citizens of the town, regardless of race, religion, culture, physical and mental abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. How will you help make the town a more inclusive community? Next on my list is Mr. Clark. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. I'm keenly aware of the need to include all citizens of Berwick, especially those from underrepresented categories to take part in the life of the town. In the past years, as Mike and Ty have mentioned, we have done a number of things attempting to address the issue of inclusion. We have celebrated a number of minority groups with ceremony and flag raising. We've worked with young people to highlight the plight of the homeless, I think as Mike has mentioned. We worked with the County of Kings on their programs aimed at encouraging inclusion and celebrating diversity. Often these events have positive impacts, but they are brief interludes in the day-to-day lives of us all. This year, I, like many other people, was impacted by Black Lives Matter. In Berwick, thanks to Charity Huntley, as Ty's mentioned, and a small group of supporters, and with the help of Taylor, we had a series of events aimed at keeping the message alive. Charity organized 3 events spread over the summer, and I attended each and every one of them. I have promised the people involved to sit down and help craft an ongoing effort at inclusion centered on forming a social justice committee. This committee would be further defined, but the goal will be to achieve some sort of ongoing positive results. So I think we're getting the message from Black Lives Matter that it has to continue. If people can't show interest and then forget about it, it has to be something that continues throughout the year and that we address these issues. Thank you.
And that was your time, Mr. Clark. Next on my list, Mr. Harris, go ahead.
Hi, yes, and I am one of those people that identify in one of those subcategories. And one thing that I do know is that one issue that one of those categories has is not the same as all the others. They're all very unique, and they can also be very unique to each and every individual. So that is why I think as counselor, I would like to form groups to get together and like a task force and hear their voices and see what they need in the town, because I can't tell them what they need. No one here can really do that. We need to hear it from them directly, and and then revise it, because I think that's the proper way to go about this, because we as counselors are their voice, and we make the decisions for them. So we need to hear what decisions they need made for them. I think that's probably one reason why I volunteer on the Western Kings Community Health Board, because it's a very diverse group that we help, from children to seniors, and every other category. And I volunteer with Micah Trinacity at the Western Kings Memorial Health Center Society, and I also volunteer at the Legion as an executive member. I find these organizations are close to me, and I like to help people because I've struggled very hard in life, and I like to give back a little bit and let them know that there's a lot that you can be done. You just have to speak up and let people know what you want done, and that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Next on my list, Mr. Reeves, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Up until a few years ago, the municipality of Kings held a wonderful annual race relations and anti-discrimination and inclusion event, and I had the honor of being asked to be the MC for that each year. And of all the events that I used to MC, that was the one I probably look forward to the most, mostly because of the message that it carried. It was held at the Old O for many years, and hundreds of people attended. There was representation from all the groups mentioned in the question: race, religion, culture, physical and mental disabilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, you name it, they were all represented. There was music, dancing, speeches, presentations. It was a really enlightening, entertaining, and educational evening. Just a wonderful event. And Berwick is always well represented, both by council and by residents. And I remember thinking that every resident of the town of Berwick should have an opportunity to attend that event, just because of the impact that it had. And it was just a real eye-opening experience for everyone. The event hasn't been held in 4 or 5 years now, but that doesn't mean its message should stop. The responsibility of carrying on its message falls on all of our shoulders. And our generation has come a long way in terms of advancing this cause. And now it's up to us to further that cause of eliminating racism and discrimination. And we can do that by teaching these lessons to our children and to our grandchildren, our next generations. As a community, we need to continue to advance this cause and perhaps even go so far as to, if not call it out when we see it, at least try to educate those we see doing it and sort of educate them as to what harm and hurt can occur when their thoughts and beliefs don't align with this particular belief. I'm a strong supporter of this movement, and it's critically important as a town and as a community that we continue to move forward with this message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. And last in this round is Mr. Jameson. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Inclusion is a very big part of any councillor's job or mayor's job when you're looking at trying to keep your citizens of any background informed and moving forward. Communications comes to mind as being an issue when you're talking about inclusion and making sure that everybody is involved. So I would suggest that we need to do as suggested by the other candidates, and I'm not going to repeat a lot of those, but be involved from a provincial standpoint, federal standpoint, and from a municipal standpoint. Be at the table and listen and come forward with ideas to make sure that we have inclusion in the community. We have to have an open and transparent meetings for people. We have to listen and talk to our citizens and respect the needs of what needs to be done in order to have the town of Berwick continue to be a good town. I encourage participation of all and suggest that possibly a diversity committee be struck. I've heard that before, and I believe that it would be important. And it's not just for a select group. It should be for anybody to cover all of the wide expanse of issues that may be out there. Social Justice Committee would be another name for it. But I would suggest that we all try to be open and listen to the various voices of the public that are out there, and they are the people that matter. Thank you.
All right, we move on to question number 3. And the candidates have not heard this question yet, so perhaps we'll see some more thinking involved in this one. So the question is, how can the town grow business in our commercial district or encourage new businesses to come to town? And the first person on my list for this question is Mr. Goddard. Go ahead.
Could you repeat the question, please, Chris?
Sure. So the question is, how can the town grow business in our commercial district or encourage new businesses to come to town?
Oh, that's difficult. To increase business, I got to be honest, this is very, very difficult, and I'm going to have to pass on this. I can't really come up with ways personally that we can increase business in town. I know there are avenues to look at, but I'm really not that familiar. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the second candidate, and in this round, it's Mr. Reeves. Go ahead.
Very much, Chris. Interesting topic, and it's interesting that you asked that question because for the last 4 years on council, I've had the honor of sitting on the Community Development Committee, and that is one of the topics that we often wrestle with as part of that committee, because obviously it falls under that umbrella. What can we do? Obviously, extend the invitation would be the first thing that we could do, is extend the invitation to other people who might be looking to open a business, that Berwick is open for business. We may have to look at expanding in terms of spaces to put those businesses, because if you drive through the town of Berwick right now, there's not really a lot of commercial space available, at least not in the main core. So maybe we could look at expanding into side streets and opening up businesses there. There's also the industrial park, which is also perhaps an opportunity to expand our business community. But I think it's really important to most critically put it out there that we actually are open for business. We're looking for business, and we need to get that out there so the businesses will start coming to town. Thank you.
All right. The next person on my list is Mr. Spicer. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, bringing new businesses in town. I remember my brother had a big part in bringing Eden Valley chicken plant to Berwick. And at the time when I heard that Larson's were shutting down, I get on the phone immediately and I called my brother. I said, brother, I said, whatever you can do, I said, you put that chicken plant in Berwick. And here it is today. So, you know, we got to promote it, right? Talk to people. I have deep ties with Michelin, and I'm talking to them all the time. You know, we have to keep Michelin Waterville growing. It helps Berwick, right? And for new business and developers, you know, maybe lighten, I'm not sure, I can look at it, dig it up, but lightening up, you know, the policies for these builders in town, right? And you know, some tax exemptions or whatever, maybe they're there now, but that's something we can, you know, find out. And, you know, and another business like getting a hotel in Berwick. You know, I've seen these hockey teams come into town and they have to, you know, I look at him, I said, you're fueling your bus up already. I said, how come? He said, well, we have to go back to Windsor and stay and then come back to Berwick and play hockey again tomorrow. I said, the Wildcat bus, we can take that to Montreal and back without fueling up. Anyway, so if we had a hotel, that's going to bring new businesses too, right? And I'm a firm believer on the original businesses here, you know, not the big ones, right? But anyway, just maybe we can look at the policies and dig a little deeper for developers, right? But always out in Berwick, you know. Every time I see somebody, come to Berwick, build that in Berwick, right? Anyway, thank you very much.
Next, I call upon Mr. James.
Thank you. Building businesses is not easy. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. But for the town of Berwick, business is our future. Businesses bring residents. Residents bring development. Development brings greater resources to the town. So one and the other go together. We have to be open to the new ideas that may be out there, no matter what it may be, and make sure that it is compatible with our town and the resources that we have in our town to help those businesses grow. And to some extent, we have to get regulations out of the way so that those businesses can grow relatively easy, but within a responsible framework. I've been involved in trying to get, or I was involved with when I was with economic development and getting Eden Valley in the town of Berwick, back to the town of Berwick when Larson shut down. And there were some infrastructure that needed to be put in the town of Berwick. And I worked with the municipal affairs and with the Department of Economic Development to make sure that those things happen. So if we are going to have strong commercial and industrial development, the park is a big component of working with that. And we must show leadership by making sure that those businesses can be successful. And yes, we are open, and come see us. We'd like to talk with you. Thank you.
All right, I'll just read the question one more time. How can the town grow business in our commercial district or encourage new businesses to come to town? And next on my list is Mr. Walsh.
Thanks, Chris. So in terms of growing small businesses in the town and supporting our small businesses in the town, it's important to realize that even though we had a very challenging budget year and that we have lost some capacity in the term of our community economic development, we still have Mike Payne, our CAO, also filling in that role as well. What we need right now too is very much a boots on the ground approach of working with our small businesses. We need to make sure that we're out there talking with the business owners, with the proprietors of the stores, and making sure that we have a good and open communication set with those businesses. We need to build closer relationships right now with the Valley Regional Enterprise Network and the Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce. And we also need to make sure that we work with our businesses to talk to each other. Often as a business owner, you end up finding that you're spending all your time running your business, but you aren't finding out what the folks around you are doing. So in terms of setting up regulations and making sure that our businesses are well promoted, making sure that we have something set up in place like a Berwick Business Advisory Committee would be very helpful to our businesses as well. From a town perspective, we need to make sure that when we are doing purchasing, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we are buying local as well, that we are promoting and supporting these businesses in every way that we're encouraging customers to do so too. As well with that, when it comes to communications and promotions, I know there are certain times throughout the year that we even make sure that we can get advertising rates at a better cost for our businesses than others, and we need to keep that up. We need to keep reminding people that Berwick is a spot of many unique shops and places to come and buy, and make sure that people want to stop into Berwick as a destination town for shopping, especially for independent business. And Chris hasn't stopped me yet, so I'm just going to keep going for another second. So one more thing.
That was your time.
Too, are you going to stop me for sure?
Yeah, that's your time. Yes.
Okay. There's lots more we can talk about with business, and I very much think we need to keep supporting and growing our small business community. Thank you.
All right. Next on the list, Mr. Clark. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Certainly a lot of it has been mentioned, but I do want to repeat, I guess, the whole area of community development. We have moved from our previous arrangement when we had community and recreation separate, and we put them together so that we now have one umbrella under community development. And we have worked well over the years with a number of people in our community development area. Community development includes a whole lot of things, and one of the things it includes is the idea of creating the climate to encourage business. Part of that creating the climate is making Berwick a great place to live, and so we have increased our population. We have attracted new residents, and I think business owners see the number of people moving into the town and are encouraged to grow and or come here. One of the areas that I've mentioned in the past, and people will perhaps be surprised, but the whole area of planning and municipal our municipal plan and our future planning documents, we revised those a few years ago. And when we looked at revisions to our planning documents, we looked at the area north of town, which for many years was considered to be kind of an open field, and we decided that we would make that the northern gateway, and that we would offer the ability to put business there and also a combination of business and residents. So the first thing that went in the north, of course, was the fire department, but by having opened
that's your
that
time,
area,
Mr. Clark.
Sorry, we did attract many new businesses there.
Thank you. Next on my list, Mr. Harris. Go ahead.
Hi there. How to grow businesses and encourage new businesses in Berwick. Firstly, to grow a business, the town could, without spending money, if money's tight, would be to help advertise for them. We've got many tools available within the town, like the Sign Up Town and the Facebook page. Another thing is to grow businesses would be to help them master their social media. And also with that, the logistics of social media, combining the logistics with social media to ship their products to other places. And I know there's other organizations that I volunteer with that they would get meals delivered to us and stuff like that. So there's ideas with the businesses that we could do that, say like a little shop could deliver little treats to the Grandview Manor, and stuff like that. Like there's a lot. But basically what you have to do is you have to meet with these people, because so often in business, people are a devil's advocate. I believe that an idea is like a bud on a flower, and it needs to be nurtured to grow. So rather than being a devil's advocate, I'm an angel's advocate in helping people find ideas and strategize. So another thing, so the workshops would be a really good idea, and they can be virtual. And so another thing is to grow, that's part of the growing, and then to encourage businesses. Well, we can look at financing ideas. So you don't always have to go to a bank. You can use the Community Economic Development Investment Funds, which is a pooling of money. You can create a CIC, which is a community interest company, and you can get money from social impact bonds. These are all great. And I had the luxury of, I was very excited to sell a restaurant to a female, and working with getting more business grants. There's grants, the Center for Women in Business, canadastartups.org. And I guess we just need to make an integrated communication marketing program where we elaborate all these details in point form to help attract new businesses, but also I guess it's a mix.
That's your time, Mr. Harris.
The businesses can grow from these CDIF and social enterprise tools as well. And that's it. Thanks.
All right. Next on the list is Mr. Lutz. Go ahead. Looking for your microphone to unmute, Mr. Lutz. Okay, we seem to have lost Mr. Lutz. Just hang on a second, we'll see if we can get him back again. Okay, go ahead now, Mr. Lutz.
Can you hear me?
There you go, we can hear you now.
Okay, because I couldn't hear any of you guys. I've been bringing phones in so I could hear you. So at least I'm still here. That's great to hear. Thank you, Chris. Growing businesses. There's lots of opportunities for that. And sometimes, like what we did with the plant, we have to look what was there before. Can we put it back? I'm going to date myself. I remember when Luigi's used to be in a different part. Then they moved, and another pizza place came and moved in. So it's a matter of look, what do we have? What did we have there before? The industrial park is a big area. Yes, we're probably not bringing another cannery in, but what could we bring into that facility that we could build from there? We've built parks where we didn't have it before. We have a bike park. Now I know there may not be a business for that, but somebody might rent bikes. I know at the library now we give bikes out to go for drives around there. So there's always a business opportunity, and we need to look what was there, and maybe what was there 20 years ago or whatever, you know. There's always business opportunities and great things said about putting up. We have signage everywhere. We have social media. And then when we have our events too. So we have other municipalities that have done different things. We all put in a water park, basically. So if we find businesses that are going in other places, and just like with the plant, we got to keep our ear to the ground. When they're looking for a new place to put something, whether it be with residents, whatever, we need to be ready and say, can we do it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. And last on my list for this question, Mr. Trinessity. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. A lot of great ideas were talked about there, and some activities that we've already been doing for some time now were brought up. So sometimes it's tough to be last, but I do want to say one of the major focuses we need to do with this is take a very strategic approach. And just did happen to grab this. We've had a strategic plan in Berwick that goes back some time, but we have to take a strategic approach to economic and business development. Some of the key things in that we really need to make sure that we focus on is making sure that Berwick is an attractive place and people want to come here. And we've tried to do that over the years. We've got lots of great feedback on how nice Berwick looks, how good it looks. People want to come and live here, set their business up and play here. So we got to keep on that. The other key thing about business development is make sure you don't lose anybody you already have. And there are lots of supports out there for existing businesses. And some people mentioned some of their issues and concerns, and we need to link them with the different types of funding and the different kinds of support and workshops that are available to them from organizations like the WREN and the Valley Chamber. Another key piece of the strategy is you have to have someplace to put them. And that was mentioned as well, that, you've got to have a place for business to set up. And people may be surprised, but we have a number of businesses that do now want to come here, that are looking for a place to set up their business in Berwick, but we don't have locations. So there are different things that need to be done to address that. And we have to look at incubator space, places to start small businesses, and how we can perhaps partner in locations, and look at developing, I think as Councillor Reeves mentioned, some other areas in our commercial district, and as the mayor mentioned, the Northern Gateway, to have a location. We also have 2 industrial parks, and I've advocated for this the last few years, is we need a bit of a strategy for our industrial park development, how both in the Eden Valley area, and maybe there's an opportunity for land there to look at additional land, the same around the Moody properties. So those are key pieces of the strategy. Thank you, Chris.
Next, Mr. Goddard, go ahead. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there. We are moving on to question 4, which I will now read. Young families are an important contributor to healthy, sustainable communities. How do you propose to attract new families to our town? For this question, the first person on my list is Mr. Reeves. Go ahead.
Young families, thank you, Chris. Young families obviously are a very important part of the growth and the sustainability of the town. And I think, you know what, for the most part, over the last, the time that I've been here, back in town, which is 13 years, we've done a very good job of doing that. You know, I mean, we've got great recreation facilities, we've got ball fields, we've got great recreation programs, we've got the Apple Dome. Obviously, in the last year or so, with COVID going on and everything, a lot of those recreation programs have taken a bit of a hit, but they will come back. And you know what, the recreation programs will be there again. Obviously, it was mentioned earlier by someone about affordable housing. A lot of the housing development that's going on in the town right now is what I would call in the upper tier in terms of the prices of the homes. We need to find a way to build more affordable homes and find the space for those more affordable homes, so the young families can come here and start here and learn what a great place Berwick is to live, and hopefully they'll stay here, and their family will continue to stay in the town for the foreseeable future. We want them to come, but at the same time, you know what, we have to look after our senior population too. So it's a very delicate balancing act as to, we want to attract the young families, but we don't want to push out the people that have been here for years and made this town what it is. So as I said, it's a very delicate balancing act, and I think the town has done a very good job so far in attracting young families to town, and we need to continue to grow on that and build on that. Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Jameson, go ahead. Still seeing you muted. There we go.
Attracting young families to town can be a hard thing if the town doesn't have any growth or future that the young people can see. But I think that Berwick has some of that growth and some of that future for the young people to see. The thing that I see is that we have a good balance between our residential and our business communities, and we must keep that balance there for the young people to see where they can and want to be in that town. The other thing is to have some competitive advantage, so that the young people can make sure that they're not just moving into another town, what that competitive advantage may be, whether it's taxation or whether it's something like the Berwick Electric Commission, which provides some revenues to the town and some assistance in the budgeting process. That creates a competitive advantage. When I was studying a number of the municipal budgets a number of years ago, I could see that some of the towns that had a hydro municipality had some of those advantages, and those advantages did allow those towns, those specific towns, to grow and to attract the businesses. One goes with the other, and you should be able to make sure that those are balanced in the future. Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Harris, go ahead.
So how to attract young families in the town? Currently, there is nothing in place. So what I would do, I would combine my real estate knowledge. I've been in real estate since 2003. And in 2008, I was the youngest broker in Nova Scotia to open my own brokerage and have salespeople working for me. So I would find the underutilized lands in town, and I have done this, and there are a few. And I would start projects with affordable housing. Now this can be done in the way of a condo lands, or it can be done by the way of a subdivision. Now there's different options available. And I think we would have to promote the fact that we have Berwick Electric. We have one of the lowest rates in Nova Scotia, if not the lowest rate in Nova Scotia, I believe. And back in the Western Kings Board of Trade, when I sat on as a director on that, Don Clark was with me. And one of the biggest things we talked about was the transfer tax rate. And I believe Don has kept that rate probably the lowest in all the province. And so I think we do have a lot of, those are the two pillars that we have, the low transfer tax rate and the low power rate. We have to build it. If we build it, they will come. And so the other idea is to, because the building code is changing rapidly, the cost of building is going up exponentially, we need to look at the possibility of building modular homes, which are on a slab. And I've been talking to builders, and we're thinking we could probably get a house built brand new for about don't quote me on this, for about $175. So it would be under 200. If we build duplexes, we could bring the total cost down if there's a shared well and et cetera. So there's a lot of opportunities there, and I would just like the opportunity. Oh, and CMHC will also help with affordable housing and for diverse groups as well. So yeah, so I'd love to be able to combine my knowledge in real estate and my academia experience to start head something like this. And that's
All right. Thank you. All right, we are in question number 4. I'll just read it again. Young families are an important contributor to healthy, sustainable communities. How do you propose to attract new families to our town? And the next on the list, Mr. Tenacity, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. This has been something that's been on the council table, and we heard it quite a bit last election that we needed to move this as a priority, and things are happening around that. We have the recreation infrastructure is what attracts young people. Good school systems attract young people. Services attract young people, and affordability is Mr. Jameson mentioned. And we have a good recreation infrastructure. Some of the affordability things that people don't realize, and we need to focus on those a little bit more. Our power is cheaper here. You don't have a water bill in town. Your assessment tends to be a bit lower, and we have to make sure we have a competitive tax rate. But I also think we need to be more welcoming. And I actually heard this one in my travels, is that some young mothers don't always feel that they're welcome to take their babies uptown. There's no place for breastfeeding and where they can sit and rest with their baby. And so we need to look at that with perhaps a welcome wagon where we would bring and introduce people to the different services and activities in the town that we need to do, and perhaps provide them, and we talked about this in the past too, some breaks on cost for recreation programs so they can sign their children up and perhaps to some of our programs. So I think those are the kinds of things that we need to do. We are seeing a bit of a trend with the development of the seniors housing, and the seniors that are moving there tend to be the ones that had family homes in Berwick, and so younger people are now buying those family homes, and we need to focus and promote that with real estate people. But around affordable housing, we did have a housing committee established, and we did look at a piece of property that the town would provide to a developer or co-op group who would construct some affordable housing, starter homes for those people that may need to come in at that level. And I think we need to resurrect that committee again and start looking at that a little bit more positively in the next few years, because young families need to be our focus. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Now I would call upon Mr. Goddard. Go ahead.
Hello again. I think that to bring young families and keep them in Berwick, we need to have recreation programs, which I believe we have plenty of, but there's always can be more. We need programs for children and for young people. We also need programs for their parents. Parents like to be getting out and doing things too. Affordable housing, of course, is very important. Keeping taxes under control can help with that. I would like to see us a little more upkeep on our park space and an increase in it, and more promotion of how green the town really is. Encouraging people to move here. A green community is a real plus. Thank you.
And next is Mr. Walsh. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. So touching on young families, which certainly was a cornerstone of my first campaign for council in 2016, the biggest push I put on was that we needed to bring young families back to Berwick. And I would argue that we've actually done a very good job at that in Berwick. If anybody's noticed, and Mike, I know you working in the real estate industry would see that we have a very hot real estate industry right now in town. There are many bidding wars going on around us. Houses move from the market very fast. We are a place that young families want to be. Certainly now, being a dad, I think that I bring the young family perspective to the council table. I know that one thing that we worked on when I first came onto council, and one thing that seemed to be a stumbling block 4 years ago, was the deed transfer tax. We did lower that within my first term on council, and since then it no longer seems to be the barrier that it once was for many families looking to come to town. However, we do still need more places for people to live. We need to talk to developers and make sure that there are places that are available for rent. Not everybody can afford to have that down payment right away, and we want those folks in the town to feel invested. We have top-notch rental facilities within the town, or top-notch facilities. We have one of the great schools in the valley. We have the KMCC, our library and town hall. Our after-school and day camp programs are top-notch, and we need to put more focus on putting priority into those so that they are open for more people. Certainly in COVID year, it's a very different time, but we need to keep working on that. We have attractions like being a safe small town where the crime rate stays relatively low. We have boasting of renewable energy and low rates. We have our PACE program that helps people make improvements to their home. We are the last town within the valley that can boast that we are 1 hour away from Halifax. We have public transit and perhaps some of the biggest healthcare facilities in the valley, not directly being the main hospital. And also,
that's your
we
time,
need to
Mr.
consider
Walsh.
that we're very good at being an intergenerational community. There are many folks who have lived here for a very long time and managed to stay within this community as well, making more than just 1 or 2 generations here. Thank you.
All right, I'll just read question 4 one more time. Young families are an important contributor to healthy, sustainable communities. How do you propose to attract new families to our town? The next on my list, Mr. Spicer, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. As a lifelong member living in Berwick all my life, I've seen projects like the Apple Dome and the Lions Club and that big, the come together, the fitness center is like a dream come true, right? And we need to continue on that and build on our success and grow in new facilities. Affordability for housing, affordability is one big thing, right? And I was never so proud, and thank you to the town for putting that splash pad up there in honor of my sister-in-law, Carol Boylan. You know, nothing makes me feel any better every day when I go by and I look over that park and that's just packed with kids, right? And, it just gives you a good feeling. And, we got this Valley Wildcats hockey team here, right? And, it's just like on a Friday or Saturday night, it's just like a community center to me, right? I've been to all the rinks, and it's great to see all the kids out there. I realize it costs a lot of money, every week to bring the kids. So, that's something we can work on. But, the kids love it, right? And that's something that we can't lose, right? That hockey team, and the kids love it, right? So anyway, thank you very much.
All right, next, Mr. Lutz, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I've had to switch devices.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Bringing young families. Yes, that also was the reason we came here. So you watch the market very carefully, and the school is the number one thing. We walk into that school, and it makes you, they say it takes a village, and that's how they sell the town of Berwick. It is a village. From Eden Valley, if they're donating chicken to the school for the healthy school programs when it was up and running, to turkeys that they donate to the Wildcats and that. And it's just a big building of community. So the number one thing when I wanted to be a young man to come to Berwick is you watch the market. And that's one of the things we can do. We just had some new families moved in. Like I said, when I was doing my canvassing, it was great to see the new families, and I made a point of making to say hello to them. And I also sit on a bunch of the school. I guess I don't sit on them, but I attend a lot of the meetings at the school when we're able to. And I see the new families come in, and I see the joy that it brings, and just the facilities that we have in the town. So, I mean, yes, we'll have to look for spots that we can put affordable housing. It's been an issue last election. It'll be an issue this election. And all we can do is continue to look for spots. And I'd be happy to sit on a committee that would help that. So it is very important that we do have two geographics. We like the young families coming in, and we also have the seniors. And we like to be there for both. And that's what makes Berwick such a wonderful place when they take the kids up from the school on the last day to the Grandview Manor to do their outdoor track and field, and it just brings us all together. So young families, and that is a wonderful thing to do, and we just have to keep looking for any ways that we can have affordable housing. Thank you.
All right, and so the last candidate to respond to question number 4 is Mr. Clark. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Chris. Again, as Mike says, it's hard to be last because I've heard a lot of wonderful comments to the town. That gives me great pleasure to hear all of those comments. Just to try to hit the highlights, rec facilities. We have rec facilities second to none, and to some extent those happen because 8 or 10 years ago we really pushed to try and attract young families. And I think when we made our initial agreement to come up with $500,000 for the Kings Mutual Century Center, we were thinking we need to attract young families. Housing was mentioned, and apartments. I sit on the REN, the Valley Regional Enterprise Network, and they're looking at the need for young people to move here to work in many of our large manufacturing operations, but housing is a problem for those people, and apartments are necessary. Other towns are building apartments, and we are working to try and improve and increase the amount of apartment accommodations in town. Stay tuned for that one. Our school has been mentioned, and I've worked closely with all the principals. We've had some wonderful staffs, and every school principal, in my memory, has really worked well with the town. It's a great asset to the town. Community development, this year we looked at major cuts to community development because of our COVID problems and needing budget cuts, but we knew from comments we were getting that the after school program and our day camp and all of those things were so important, and so we've tried to continue those. And in fact, this new building, the town hall and Carol's place, were built with the idea that we needed to have space for after school programs, day camps, and all of those things. So those are all things that we think, and I agree with Shane, the Wildcats are very important to this town. From a young family perspective, those young men work with our after school program. They work with seniors as well, but they are just wonderful ambassadors, and I think parents love to see their kids having a chance to look up to, idolize, and play with those young men. So all of those things are great things that will continue.
That's your time, Mr. Clark.
Young families. Thank you.
All right, moving on to question number 5. And the question is, Berwick is becoming known as a green energy town. Do you have any additional ideas on how to make the town a green energy leader? And first on my list for this question is Mr. Jameson. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that we already have is the Berwick Electric Commission. It's as I've said before, gives the town of Berwick a competitive advantage. As we move forward, the use of the hydroelectric dam in Factorydale, it plays a role, and whether or not we can do more there, that probably has to have energy study or engineering studies go on there. I know that there's been some done in the past, but it may be time to revisit that. If you look at joules in to joules out, when you're looking at green and energy, water is your biggest converter. The solar garden that they're talking about is important, and power management within homes and with the other hydro partners out there is important. From a future perspective, I think we have to look at the electrification of travel, cars, the lithium batteries that will be coming forward in those, and creating greater opportunities for people to move around and use some of that Berwick Electric, and possibly get into some discussions with the hydrogen energy field and make sure that those opportunities can be or may be able to be brought to Nova Scotia, and working with our federal and provincial partners to see what can be done to make sure that we have those in the future. Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Walsh, go ahead.
Hey, sure, Chris. I was still writing notes, but I think I can go. So we have benefited greatly from our electric commission. We have the lowest rates in the province because we have our own commission, and because of the unique partnerships we've struck through area with both Antigonish and Mahone Bay. We've been able to partner on bigger energy projects than only one electric commission could do in itself. I'm extremely proud of the fact that we live in a town that has 65% renewable energy from its own sources, and that we keep continuing to look to new projects. We have the hydro dams, we have the wind farm that we're a partner with in Ellershouse. We're working on the solar battery projects through Storterra and Equilibrium Engineering. Through the PACE program, we're looking on making more of our houses able to run using affordable green energy and reducing energy costs. We have been, as a council, discussing being able to put up electric chargers for cars. We are leading the way, and certainly we have made a name for ourselves throughout the country as a town that is leading in this renewable green energy. The Storterra Equilibrium contract alone granted us $3 million to be able to work on these green energy projects, like the solar battery. When the solar garden opens up, we're looking at increasing the amount of renewable energy that we have by 5%. And that's huge to be able to invest in that and keep trying to make the world a little bit better and greener. As we keep moving forward, I'm sure there will be more projects that come up to be able to better suit our world and what we're doing, and trying to reduce our energy costs that would be in non-renewable energy. And I mean, as we keep going forward as well, I think that this type of green renewable energy is going to attract people to come to town, as seeing that we are responsible with our power use as well. Thank you.
All right, third for this question, Mr. Clark, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Chris. I couldn't be more prouder of the town than I am when it comes to green energy. This whole thing began back almost when I first came on council, and I remember my first trip on an event or a meeting. I traveled with Don Riggin to Truro And he explained to me the value of hanging on to our utility when some others were selling theirs off. And the value of the fear was that deregulation was going to cause problems. But I think Mr. Regan saw the future very clearly. So we began at that time to try and find other sources of power. And ultimately, over probably 10 years of working at it, we came up with the idea of building our own wind farm and getting together with our partners, and all of that has led on to other things. The solar garden, which is well underway. We're just looking for federal and provincial grants to come through. We are currently working with electrification, as Mr. Jameson mentioned, looking at a number of EV chargers here in town, trying to encourage people to get off oil and switch to electricity through a new heat pump program that will replace our PACE program. And, you know, the Power Forward Challenge is just a wonderful opportunity that kind of fell in our lap, but I know Don Riggin and I jumped on board and traveled with those people to Ottawa to take part in the presentation that resulted in our getting that $3 million grant. The grant goes to those engineering firms, but they're going to bring things to town, including 10 houses that have benefited greatly from solar panels and chargers in their basement, and 3 large industrial size chargers that will be here at the town hall and at the Kings Mutual Century Center and at the sewer treatment plant. And those are...
And that's your time, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Those are run by artificial intelligence, and we're going to be at the forefront of renewable energy storage. Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Trinacity, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that is an interesting question for new ideas for green energy. As the mayor mentioned and Tyler mentioned, we are the greenest energy community in Nova Scotia, if not Canada, with what we've done so far. So people are aware of the wind farm we have, but as has been mentioned, you'll soon hear about our new program, Think Well Shift. It's a consultant company that's hired our ambassador, a lady by the name of Kelsey Best, which most of the community will be familiar with. And she'll be coming out and telling people about our community solar garden, which is our next piece of the plan. And it was mentioned already about electric vehicles. Well, one of the things to support electric vehicles is you have to have charging stations. So we're going to roll out a series of charging stations within the community. And then the other program piece she'll tell you about is the home program. And Tyler mentioned the PACE program, where we're switching from PACE to home, and it's all about a heat pump program. So it's heat pump options made easy. We're going to try to roll that out to homeowners to make it even more effective and efficient for people to get into heat pumps. But when you talk about what other new ideas, we have had discussion over the years, many years ago, about anaerobic digestion. We have a whole opportunity, being in the middle of a farming community, to develop energy from manure. So that's an option for us, which is a new technology. The other thing about add more green to the power grid in Berwick would be to buy more green power when we need it. So right now we buy from Nova Scotia Power, as most people will know, is hugely dependent on coal and oil. So we've already started to look at purchasing power and buying power from New Brunswick. And when power gets available from Newfoundland, then we can look at purchasing power from Newfoundland, which will be green as well. Hopefully someday soon we'll be to 100% of green energy in Nova Scotia, in Berwick, far ahead of any other community in Nova Scotia. So we're making great strides, and we all should be very proud of the efforts that's happening in this town and by the staff of area and our electrical utility to make it all happen. And of course, led by our very progressive council. Thanks, Chris.
Just read the question one more time. Berwick is becoming known as a green energy town. Do you have any additional ideas on how to make the town a green energy leader? And next candidate on my list is Mr. Reeves. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. You know what? This is one of the things that I'm most excited about when I talk about the town of Berwick. When you think about a town that has a population of 25 or 2,600 people being involved in all this renewable energy. That's something to get really excited about. People will often ask me, what are you most proud of when it comes to talking about the town of Berwick? And you know what? They don't even get the words out of their mouth, and I say two words: the wind farm. And a lot of that credit has to go to Don Regan at Berwick Electric, because that wind farm has been a vision of Don's for many years, and it was so nice to see it come to fruition for him a few years ago. And of course, the town is benefiting from it greatly. The other folks have touched on a lot of the points that I was going to talk about. The solar garden that's on the horizon, the hydro dam that's been in existence for years up in Factorydale is a wonderful piece of this puzzle. And it all wouldn't be possible if we didn't own our own electric commission. So just imagine what we would have missed out on if we would have sold off our electric commission like so many other communities have done in the last few years. So and the electric charging stations for the electric cars is mentioned. The fact that eventually wouldn't it be nice down the road to be 100% renewable energy in the town of Berwick? And again, I mentioned in a town of 25 or 2,600 people. That's things that towns and villages and cities of much larger size would be so proud to have, and we have it right here in the town of Berwick, and it looks like it's going to continue to grow with all the initiatives that we have underway. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Reeves is just under his time, and now it's time for Mr. Lutz. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. I don't know if my video is working, but my audio is. Green energy. It's hard being late in the draw because before ones that I were going to mention was already mentioned. But you're always looking. I mean, you look back 10, 20 years ago, how many of these ideas we weren't even thinking of? So we're open to everything. Charging stations are great. Not really renewable energies, but other things we do in our town to make it greener. Again, I mentioned the library, and we can take bicycles out. And what never gets mentioned, I guess, again, is with the school. Before COVID, we used to have the walking school bus. So parents could drop their kids off, and we'd walk as a group. So it made us more of a community, and it was green. And the kids certainly picked up on that and said, hey, isn't this great? So anything we could do was great. I don't think we can have a wind tower in town like they do at the landfill, but anything like that. We've done a great job and we can just keep going. Thank you.
All right, I'll just read the question one more time. Berwick is becoming known as a green energy town. Do you have any additional ideas on how to make the town a green energy leader? Next on my list, Mr. Goddard. Go ahead.
Thank you. I believe that we definitely have to continue on with the Ellard House wind farm and the solar garden project that's upcoming. Plus, new construction in town should include solar panels and storage systems to make any building, whether it's a home or a business, much more efficient. We got to keep our dam up and running. Necessary upgrades should be done. It's an amazing source of power for us. We also need to look at incentives for businesses to become more efficient energy-wise. Charge stations for electric cars are definitely going to be a must. And with the projects that we have and these other ideas, our community can be 100% green. Thank you.
All right, we're coming near the end now. The next person to speak is Mr. Spicer. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Chris. Yeah, very proud of Berwick on the green scene there. Just make sure that we take advantage of all the incentives there for like heat pumps and I know Taylor does a good job of digging up and checking out what kind of grants we can get for everything, to make it easier and cheaper and keep her green. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Spicer, I didn't realize you were finished. We have one more person to respond to this question, and that will be Mr. Harris.
Hi there. Yeah. So how to make Berwick a green energy leader. Many people may or may not know that the WCCD ISO certified the Annapolis Valley as the first smart and sustainable rural region in 2019. So that's something to be very proud of as well. So we do have some competition with our community around us. So how would we make Berwick a little more greener? We could look at the possibility of inserting a bike lane through town. Electric car charging stations would be a great idea. I'm starting to see more Teslas driving around. But I had actually a very interesting inquiry sent to me, and it was from a resident in town, and he wanted to be able to connect his net zero home onto Berwick's grid. And then you would have a reverse meter, so then you get paid for the power that you put onto the grid. But you get paid for the power you put on, but you pay for the power you take. And so that is not available, he told me, and I think that should be something that should be available, because Berwick spends a lot of money on these solar farms and stuff like that. But imagine if we didn't have to spend any money at all, and we just encourage people to go with net energy homes for profit, and they put their grids on our grid, or sorry, their solar panels on our grid when there's a high. So I think this needs to be looked at and evaluated, and I think it'd be a great idea moving forward, is to allow net zero energy homes to put back onto our grid. Thank you. Chris, you're
All right,
silent.
I could not hear you for a few moments there, Mr. Harris. It seems like you're finished and that we're done the formal part of the evening. We did have some, or start the end by just saying we did have some technical difficulties. So we're going to ask everyone if they wish to make a final comment of their own before we finish for the evening. I'll call on the candidates in the list in the order I introduced you. So I'll start with Mr. Lutz. Go ahead and if you have anything to say.
Just want to thank everyone for turning in tonight. I want to thank everyone for answering the doors, and maybe not when I'm there, but when I leave, taking the door hangers and that off. And I really appreciate the talking and that, because that's what it is, the communication part, and all the committees and that before us and during us, and all the people that have sat on these committees. And it's really good to see, and I just look for your support during the election. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Next is Mr. Tenacity. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. I just did want to highlight one thing I did miss in my economic development piece there about supporting businesses. We actually started today with a launch of a letter to businesses to try to form a business district committee to try to get more promotions and businesses working together. So that one is underway, and I forgot to bring that up. But I do want to thank everybody for the opportunity, all the other candidates for tonight. Lots of great ideas were shared, and I hope people got a good chance to learn more about each and every one of us that are running. But I would also remind them there's been lots of great ideas and lots of things that we talked about for the agenda, upcoming priorities for council. But council has a very good staff, and we're already busy with a lot of great services that we need to make sure we maintain. Our public works, our recreation, our planning, electrical. We've got to make sure that those are maintained, and the staff continue to focus on those, as we do have limited resources and staffing. But we will, I think, endeavor to try to move ahead on some of these new priorities and those ones that we've been identifying as ongoing priorities. So thank you all very much.
Next on my list is Mr. Goddard. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to say that I have so far enjoyed going around knocking on doors, talking to a number of wonderful citizens in our community. And I will be around knocking on the doors that I haven't been to yet before the election. I would like to thank all the citizens who tuned in this evening for this event and wish you all a good night. Thank you.
And Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, Chris. In closing, I'd just like to echo what the rest of the candidates have said. Thank you very much to everyone that tuned in this evening. I know we experienced a few technical difficulties along the way, so we certainly appreciate those of you hanging in with us for the whole thing that did. Thank you very much for that. You should have received your voter information card in the mail by now. I got mine yesterday. So by all means, if you have any questions about that, again, because of COVID, it's everything is kind of thrown up in the air in terms of how we have to do things this time around for the election. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me or any one of the other candidates running in the election this year, and they'll be sure to guide you through the whole process, tell you what's changed, what hasn't, and you know what, if they don't have the answers, they'll be able to reach out to somebody who does have the answers. So please get out and vote. You've had an opportunity to hear from all of us here this evening as part of this forum, and again, we do appreciate you tuning in. Get out and vote on the 17th, or as part of the advanced voting, which is also on your voter information card. And I certainly hope that I can count on your support. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I posted something on social media here a couple of days ago about have a socially distancing friendly front porch. We still have some fine weather before the 17th. So if you want to drop by my house here at 116 Union Street in Berwick and have a chat about some of the issues that are on your mind, I would be more than willing and would actually welcome that opportunity. So thank you again for the opportunity this evening. Thanks, Chris Crothers, for doing such a great job here, and good luck to the rest of the candidates in the election. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jameson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. First of all, I'd like to thank the citizens who have come forward and taken the time this evening to tune into the YouTube and watch this forum. It's been I've been impressed by the other candidates and the discussion that's gone on. It's been a great discussion, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk with the other members out there. I appreciate the support that I've seen around the town as I've traveled. I would suggest that, as Rod said, the package is out, or the letter is out on how to vote. Please vote, and stay safe, stay healthy, and good night.
Next is Mr. Harris.
Hello, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and thank you for Mr. Carruthers for setting this up, and Janet Small and Mike Payne and everybody else that devoted time into this. I'd just like to end by saying that I promise you I am a lot more better equipped at writing than I am verbally articulating what it is I'm trying to say. And also, I'm a chief social media strategist and analytics officer for private clients. And I think there's a lot that can be done on social media during times of COVID to help local businesses sell things online or help promote their businesses, etc. And mainly my idea to run as councillor for the town of Berwick would be to help other businesses and people of minority and children and seniors. I'm very passionate with seniors as well. That was one of the reasons why I steered into the path of social enterprise leadership. So hopefully I get elected to help showcase some of my skills and experience. Thank you.
And Mr. Walsh.
Thanks, Chris. It's been a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm counting on this might be the first time that my face actually makes it onto the YouTube screen at this point. So, hey, everybody, it's nice to see you. So I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time tonight, listening to us, the candidates. running for this town council election. It has been the pleasure of my life to get to serve this town and do what I can to try and help make this a better place. I really believe that Berwick is one of the best places in the world to live. We have a beautiful community spirit. It's probably one of our biggest assets here in town. We have a never say die attitude, and we keep trying and going at it. There's so much more to talk about, although it's already been a rather long night already. I invite you, please get in touch with me. Let's have more conversations. Let's talk about how we can grow our community, grow our small business community, increase our communications for the town, community policing, green energy initiatives, supporting our community organizations, and making sure that we are representing a diverse population here in town. I just want to once again say thank you. Thank you so much for supporting me over the last 4 years in this role and as the deputy mayor. I look forward to serving you again for another 4 years and having a lot of fun in the process. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Now we move on to the mayoral candidates, starting with Mr. Clark. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. First in the category of things missed, and we didn't miss a lot, but I was asked by the newspaper to indicate what I felt were Berwick's strengths. And I'm just looking here at notes where I said Berwick's strengths are many. And the first one was, we are blessed with a wealth of volunteers in this region. And so much of what we have is due to volunteers. So I just want to put that in. I've been very pleased with the other comments here tonight, and everybody's been very complimentary about the town and all the wonderful things we've done. I think we all do need to remember that we are known province-wide, I think, quite often have been featured in media as a great volunteer community. I mean, the Kings Mutual Century Center wouldn't be there without volunteers, and so much of what we have in this town is supported by volunteers. So I wanted to add that. And beyond that, I do just want to thank all of the candidates. You all did a great job, and I want to encourage all our audience out there to make sure you vote. I think you'll have a tough time making decisions, and but the important thing is that you vote. So once again, thanks to Chris and your team for doing this, and good night, everyone.
All right, Mr. Spicer.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to all the viewers that stayed through with us for the night. I take pride in being a Berwickian. As your mayor, I will devote all my time to make this town the best it can be. I will be on the streets listening to all the complaints and the accolades. It's time for new thinking. So vote for Shane Spicer for mayor. I know, we had a lot of people that, I was sort of hoping we would have had more girls, more females run for council and mayors, right? And anyway, that didn't happen. I would like to see that, because the girls that have left have done a really good job, right? And anyway, this is an opportunity for change. So anyway, I'll be out door to door. If people don't know me, I encourage you to ask somebody. I have nothing to hide. I will be there for you. Thank you very much.
All right, that just about wraps things up for tonight. Let me say for my part that I do want to thank all the candidates for their calm and polite participation, in stark contrast to last night's debate in the United States. So, and that's it for tonight. Thank you all for attending, and good night.
Thank you, Chris. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Thank you, folks. Good night.